and welcome back to part 25 of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, where today, after clearing the Yoyogi Park, we have that little magic stone thing we picked up that we can take back to our teacher to try and hopefully give her enough power to gain a reason, assuming there's any power left in it, because it looked kind of faded when we got it. But as we're on our way there, I do want to say that ignoring the Labyrinth of Amala, we don't actually have that many dungeons left. There's still going to be a number of parts yet, but in terms of actual dungeon numbers, we've got about 3, excluding the final dungeon and excluding the Labyrinth of Amala.
Glad you're okay. I felt it when the evil presence faded away. Were you able to get the Yahiro no Himarogi? Oh, so the Magatsuhi was used up already. Then, you don't mind me keeping this, do you? This brings me one step closer to creating my world. My goddess will surely teach me the reason now.
Freedom is the cliff that overlooks the abyss, the valley of the shadow of death. The grave awaits even the victor at the end of the road. Show me your heart. Fool who bears the name Freedom, because of your name, you will carry the burden of plague, pain, and ridicule. Do you fear the suffering and humiliation? Fool who bears the name Freedom, because of your name, you will live a life of betrayal, rejection, and defeat. Do you fear the deceit, the torment? Go and see the world with your own eyes. There are forces vying for creation. Without judging their reasons, your world will not come to be. Side with them, or side against them. Only then will your world be born. Remember that Lo, a new force is about to emerge in Ikebukuro. I too will become a force with this woman. Remember that you are what is right. That is my truth.
Aradia, you still won't give me your reason? Why? What is it that I still lack? I think I need to go. Staying here won't do me any good. I need to see for myself what kind of worlds are worth creating, and what kind of hands shaped them. Thanks for all your help. Hope to see you soon.
Oh, Yuko, we'll see more of you later, and hopefully your relationship with your false god will manifest into something more helpful later. But right now, I need to go back for Yoyogi. But on the way there, I go back and end up doing a lot more fusions. Essentially, we need to go to the side of Yoyogi we were at the very start of the game, after we left the Shinjuku Medical Center, which is the west side. The easiest way to get around there is either going to Shinjuku and then running down to it, or just running through Yoyogi, because the fairies won't force you to move around anymore. But the puzzle's turned off, so you can run straight through it all. Which is also great if you haven't got everything you wanted in there. You're now free to run around between all the rooms just fine. I also fused a Dominion in the end. And the only thing that's kind of dangerous with Dominion, and you can already see it, it's weak to Dark and Curse. So it's weak to Curse-based status conditions, and it will die from any Mudoon that comes its way, essentially. Being weak to an instant kill doesn't guarantee it will connect, it just severely heightens the chance of its connection. And you'll see me spend a little while kind of debating with myself what to add, and I eventually take Fire Drain with me, just because having another immunity other than it just being light is very helpful. Somehow throughout the course of this game, I don't get a single fusion accident, and I know I don't fuse anywhere near as much as I probably should, but I was still kind of surprised by the time I got to the end. I was like, I didn't have a fusion accident once, huh? But Dominion doesn't become too much of a mainstay. Dominion has problems in their own way, and so although I keep them for a little bit, I end up fusing more as well. I really wanted the Scafith. I really wanted a Scafith. I never get her, but I really wanted one. Like, that was a member that I, on my original playthrough, was like one of like the most significant members for the final party. So it's like, I want you because you were nice, and I end up never getting her. But to be fair, I'm also happy with what my final team ended up being. Right. They weren't perfect, but I didn't want to completely decimate the end game. So it kind of worked out. Like, none of them had debilitate, which is a shame because I really wanted that as well. And then all the physical ones, you see me kind of swerve without giving it much thought. It's only the magic ones I'm that fussed about, because I know all my physical deeds are going to be on Demi-Fiend. But I will eventually pick up a second physical user to make it more 2 physical attackers, 2 magic attackers. But I only do that when I'm in a position where I feel like the physical attacker has worth, essentially. It feels like it is worth doing. The whole time it doesn't, I steer clear. Which for at least a good long while, it remains that way. But I said last part that the giant elephant demon thing we fought was 1 or 3 magic check tests. And I said that the second one comes pretty soon after the first. So when you go to the west side, use the Spring of Life just to top everyone up, and then go to the opposite end. The end that previously I think only had items in it. Because that is where our next fiend, Mother Harlot, is awaiting you. As far as I am aware, Mother Harlot is there regardless of what other fiends you fought. She's one of those ones that is kind of more of a universal, optional one you can bump into. It's not like with the Horsemen, where the Horsemen entirely don't show up unless you beat the second Kalpa, and the 4th Horseman will only show up once you beat the other 3. No, it's not like that. Mother Harlot seems to be here regardless of what playthrough I've done, how many I've fought, but I haven't stretched the testing of that to know if it's completely universal, or if you have to at least beat 1 or 2 of them before she shows up. But either way, we're going to stick around and fight her, and she is our second magic check test of the game.
You worked so hard to get the Yahiro no Himoroki, yet you simply gave it away. I suppose it's understandable, since your heart is set more on chaos than creation. But there's one obstacle you've yet to overcome. And that is I, the Mother Harlot, subjugator of the beast that rules all men.
You who were once human, and now possess a demon's body. Do you wish for a demon's heart? Even if you will be bound to despair in impenetrable darkness.
Very well. Then bear to me the darkness in your heart, and relinquish your soul as tribute. Now, shall we indulge ourselves? In the ecstasy of death, that is. Let us savor every minute of this orgy of the damned.
In the original translation of this game, she was just called the Harlot, so I appreciate that they corrected that in this. There's a number of demon names that were incorrectly translated or localized a little too heavily back in the original release of this game that this remaster corrects every single version of, and I think it actually does a lot to add to make the dialogue more fleshed out. But this fight, firstly, don't use Violet Flash. I don't know why for a second I thought it would let me use light damage on a boss. That's just an unwritten rule in SMT. Light and dark does not work on bosses. But I was just hoping because it was a damage-based attack, maybe it would let me get away with it. But no such luck. But this boss, you can't physically attack. In the same vein as the boss we fought last time, attacking this boss with physical attacks will only work against you, so you cannot do it. Which is what makes this fight very slow, because I have a very physically dominant attacking group, so I'm not stuck with what I have. Beast Roar will drain as well as hurt, which is why she got 500 health back from that. So you need to be making a push to lower its defense, because similar to the Mara fight, you're kind of having to damage check it as well. It's a magic check and damage check, which makes this fight very problematic for me, because I don't have that much in magic, And because of that, we don't have that many strong damage dealers. And that's what happens if you physically attack, it'll just get reflected. I just wanted to burn the minion's turn to go to someone else, and I forgot that it's not blocked, it's reflected, so I lost the whole press turn structure. Physically, however, Mother Harlot doesn't have that much going for her, even with the focus, so try not to stress too much about it. But do understand that she does have access to the Kaja and Dakunda, but it's not that consistent. Like, she doesn't use it that often, which is why I think it's okay to push for the stat alterations as you go. Like, you're going to see me act on it as it goes on. I don't think this is the fight where I foolishly waste... Like, the Demi Fiend becomes worthless in this fight. Once the nerfs are in place, he becomes entirely worthless. So on some of his turns, I just waste skills. Because I get bored. I get bored of Demi Fiend, so I just start wasting skills. I start having him boost attack, even though I can't attack. If I had magic boost, it'd be fine, because I'd use that every turn to help balance the odds. But because I'm going so much of our diehard physical boost, I never once in this game pick up a physical boost-based attack. So it ends up kind of working against me, and I have to try and at least damage check over 500 damage per turn. If I can help it, solely to make sure I'm still working at a net positive, even if it's not much of a positive. This boss isn't the whole video, despite how, like, detrimentally I'm explaining it. It just takes a while. Deathlust you should be afraid of, though. Deathlust, I believe, has instant kill properties on it. It inflicts status conditions, but I think it has instant kill properties on it, so you need to be wary. I might be mistaking that with hard type, though, the mod. Because I have been trying that out more over the weekend in my spare time, and I did get instant killed by some of her skills in that, so I might be getting mistaken with it. I just distinctly recall being instant killed by it. Which, to be fair, yeah, I know I said in a previous video that I didn't get that far, but I've been making more of an effort since I'm back in the swing of it to try it out, just to get a feel for it. I'm not going for 100%, like, I'm just trying to see what I can do and what I get away with, and it's so much of an entirely different beast. And it's but at the same time, I'm also glad I recorded the whole of this game before I did it, because otherwise I think I would end up making something on autopilot on this that's more built to compensate for hard types extremities, and end up kind of dogpiling this game. So the fact that I did this first, where I did it at the expected challenge with like the expected averages, worked out in my favour. Oh, there's the Dakaja, or Dakunda, sorry, so she got rid of her own. So we need to nerf her again to stand a better chance. But because I'm making more of an effort to boost myself, it's not too bad. And I want to spend the rest of this fight talking about other stuff. There's another boss fight later on that also takes an eternity, and that's just because I didn't work it out straight away. But there are 2 bosses in this video, so I'll have room to talk about more stuff as well. But I want to talk about the future of SMT after this game. And that's not talking about 5, because I know that's the obvious one, because 5's the next release. It's coming out on the Switch later in the year. And I'm very excited for it, even though I don't own a Switch, just because I'm excited at the prospect of maybe it getting ported to other platforms later, since Atlus have shown an increased interest in doing that as time's gone on. Like starting with Persona 4 Gold and making it to PC, and I hope later consoles. Like the fact that made it to PC, that was kind of the first sign. Then this being on PS4, Switch and PC. Like there's more interest in them making some of their older games, or some of their games in general, multi-platformed. So I hope that changes eventually. But I want to talk about potential other remasters, because this is their first of presumably several that they plan on doing. Because they did a poll a number of years ago directly asking people what people wanted, and there was an overwhelming demand for a remaster of Nocturne, among with other things. Like Nocturne, a lot of people are Persona fans, they are surprised that they didn't do Persona first, not realizing that Nocturne actually had a far bigger calling for than Persona 3 did. Like Persona 3 was still high up there, but Nocturne was higher. The demand for Nocturne was bafflingly high, that it was kind of inevitable because of how much people wanted it. But I think next will probably be Persona 3. But I think they won't do it straight away. I think they will wait a little bit and wait until Persona 6 is starting to approach, and then to put Persona back in people's minds, they will make a Persona 3 remaster then. And if you're sitting there going, but we got years yet, and following their previous track record, yeah, we probably do. following how they handled Persona 4 and its spin-offs, we probably do have another couple years of Persona 5 content yet. I mean, we haven't had a fighting game yet, god damn it. You know, one thing people want. But still, I think when Persona 6 eventually starts coming around and gets announced and starts existing in some form or fashion, we will get a Persona 3 remaster then to put Persona back in people's minds. And then from there, then like Persona 6 will come up. Similar to what they've done with this, where SMT 3 remaster has come out about 6 months short of SMT 5, so it put SMT back in people's minds, which it well and truly has. If my Twitter and YouTube is anything to go by, it feels like a lot of people are picking up SMT and giving it a go, which is great as an SMT fan to see more people play it. So it seems to be working. But after Persona 3, I want to see them put, I think I've talked about it before, I want to see them put Strange Journey on console. Because Strange Journey Redux in particular is a fan-fucking-tastic SMT. It's my second favourite SMT, I'd say. And it really is good, but it's locked to the halls of the DS, and it's remaster, it's director's cut version, the 3DS. Despite the fact the game very much can function on one screen, because the touchscreen is entirely for menus. So they could just put that menu on the screen as an overlay and it would be fine. I'm no tech wizard, but at least to me, that doesn't seem like it would be too out of order to manage. It seems like they could do that. And then they could just make the audio quality slightly higher for the soundtrack, because they still have the audio files for the original. At least I hope they do. They haven't said they lost them. They've only ever said they lost SMT3's audio files, so I'd like to think they'd still have Strange Journey. They wouldn't make that mistake twice. But then do a remaster of Strange Journey Redux in particular, because Redux feels like the full version of the game. Because the original always felt like it was kind of missing things in places and felt like it needed a bit more context to some parts, whilst Redux completely fixes that problem and adds a new dungeon that, although it's very maze-like, is fun to explore. And that's another SMT game that if that ever got remastered, I would prioritize covering it similar to how I prioritized covering this. That was an unfortunate miss. That was a really unfortunate miss. Not that it matters, because she wastes a turn by using a status condition. Oh yeah, that's the gimmick with Mother Harlot. Mother Harlot is kind of the status condition queen. So if you have Daisojo with you, this fight, it will work in your favor. Speaking of, there goes the fight. And a hefty 8,000, that's nice. Even if it's not enough to level anyone up other than Parvati, it's still nice. And yeah, and I think I get Mediorama, yeah I do. So I get a more general group wide. And get rid of Allure, because Allure's pointless. And there's Tetrakan. Tetrakan is great for this stage in the game. Both that and Makarakan. Which is, Tetrakan is Reflectal Physical for a turn, and Makarakan is Reflectal Magic for a turn. Makarakan more so than Tetra, but it's still nice. Also, if you go over here, you'll get hints that there's other stuff going on that you can go do now. Which leads me to the point of there's actually another boss in this video that I just forgot about as I was talking. We're going to fight 3 bosses in this video, so it's a bit of a triple-decker. But the middle one is an optional one, which I wanted to specialize doing anyway, because it drops a Magatama I really want for later, even if not right now.
Settled things in Yoyogi Park. Pretty scary when you think about it. Struggle for power. Maybe the end of this world is coming sooner than we think. I think that other guy might have got absorbed by the Amala network. I haven't found a single trace of him since. Huh? Guess that's what working alone gets you. By the way, you know what's going on in Ikebukuro? I heard Gozu Tenno is back and gaining power. It's probably just a rumor. After all, his body was shattered to pieces. Not like it makes any difference. As soon as I seize control of Amala, it'll all be over.
Hijiri, are we okay, dude? That sounded a little bit evil. That sounded a little bit, like, insane. You're, like, the only sane character in this game right now, so please don't you go too. Everyone else is too busy doing their demonic chases for power. Speaking of, we need to go all the way up to Gozu Tenno's chamber at the top of the Mantra HQ. Because Chiaki, as we learned, previously went to Yoyogi Park and got whooped. How much so? She got her whole right arm ripped off and somehow barely survived. So she's seeking raw power now, and so she went to Gozu Tenno. So let's go check in on her now.
Woman, what brings you to this place? Why do you bear such anger?
That power I felt. It was you? So, you weren't dead after all. Were you calling out for me, Gozu-Tenno?
Ever since I fell into the Nihilo's trap, my spirit has been drifting. But not for 1 minute have I forgotten the rage I felt on that day.
All I wanted was power. I just couldn't get it. No matter what trials I face, or how much I get hurt, my reason won't change. Though at this rate, I might as well not have a reason at all.
Woman, accept my spirit. I once strove to protect the world from the followers of stillness. However, what we should have done instead was build a kingdom ruled by strength. Of course, I would never have succeeded. However, if I was human, if I could have had a reason of my own, then the outcome may have been different.
If your power can make me strong, and help me to create my world,
Your reason is one with our kingdom. I shall entrust you with my last remaining strength. Woman, accept my spirit. Be the strength that guides all demons.
like my hand is on fire.
Take a good look. Aren't you amazed at my beauty? Strength and beauty are one and the same, after all. Now I have the power to shape my own destiny. Ah, I see it. I can see those who seek Yosuga flocking to this land. It is finally within my grasp. My utopia. My ideal world.
And then we just leave. It just cuts to black and we leave. I mean, okay, game. You can't go back in. You just leave. She starts laughing. You go, all right, we're out, guys. But her reason is now far more fully formed. She is gaining the power. She only needs to merge with a god, and her reason will be complete. But because her reason is merging, the entirety of Mantra HQ are replaced now by followers. Followers of law, to be particular, which means they're all angelic beings. In the SMT universe, most demons can be split into 3 groups: law, neutral, or chaos. We actually saw glimmers of when we saw it, when it saw to Isamu that he was attracting neutrals. It was why he was attracting specters and what. He was attracting neutrals. So now we only need to see what one's attracting the chaotic, and we'll know. But way back in the inverted prison, if you climb all the way back up to the top, which is no longer inverted, so you can take the stairs all the way up, there's a new optional boss just chilling in the top floor who's trying to take it over for himself, which is Black Frost. You want to do this fight because the Magatama it drops is Satan, which has an amazing physical skill on it if you max out its level. All hail the He-Ho! Feast your eyes on me, the Abihimino Black Frost. I'm so heliciously evil, they call me the Emperor Kabukisho. Don't like it? Then blow it out your He-Ho. The world belongs to me, the mighty Emperor, He-Ho. What did you say? Did I scare you, Ho? No. How? No, I'm insulted. You're gonna apologize, He-Hole. This man's got guts, thinks he's a head he-honcho. Well, you know what, Ho? I think you need a reality check on the greatest Emperor in he-story. Now bow down to the Bufu Master. Jack Frost is the real mascot, this is. Also, he opens with fucking Moomadoon, which is not great. I've got an angel in my party, that was not great. I was like, uh-oh, completely forgot about that. But this fight isn't too bad, all things considered. But it drops Satan, and Satan has a bunch of physical skills. But it has unique skills, is what the game says. But the last skill it drops is called Deadly Fury, which is a group-wide, heavy physical attack that has an extremely high crit rate and hits more often than not. And so it is amazing to have. But the level requirement to get it is pretty high. But I just wanted Satan now, so when I went to start grinding for it, I could get it. Because I don't enter the final dungeon of the game without it, essentially. Like, when I start going for Deadly Fury, I commit to it completely. So I just wanted Satan now, so when I did decide to go for it, I could just go for it kind of thing. I could just grind up the levels for it. It's also, despite being a Frost family, it is immune to fire, so don't do it. Don't use ice and don't use fire. I think electric is safe. And I want to say physical. Physical's technically safe, but it's quite resistant to it. It won't do as much damage as you'd hope. But this is our second boss, and so I just completely forgot about this guy when I started the recording of this video. I just forgot I did this video. For some reason, I thought I did it in the next one, which is part of the reason why this video ends up being so long, because I do 3 bosses, which is never the intention. None of my videos for Nocturne, all the ones that are like 40+ minutes, are never the intention. I just keep playing until I reach the point I wanted to reach, and it just so happens that every time I go for a point I want to reach, it takes me longer than I thought it would to get there. Like with this one, after you've gone to the Chiaki event that you saw at the top of Mantra HQ, we need to return to Asakusa to have yet another cutscene where we learn what's going on elsewhere. You saw that the physical damage is 16. It is highly resistant to physical. So, when I go to do that, I then immediately follow up that cutscene, which leads to the next mandatory boss, and then leads to the next dungeon. For this session, my intention was start with Mother Harlot, get to the next dungeon. And it just took me longer to do that because I ended up sidetracking for this. Which doesn't take too long. This boss isn't that hard. It just ends up making this video 47.5 minutes. And there's going to be a few more videos later on that are also going to be super chunky. Like, maybe it'll be different by the time we get there, because I'm still editing bits and pieces. But there's a video later on that's currently clocking in at 59 minutes. Like, there's things like that that's going around. Like, obviously we'll see as we edit it along, because I'm still editing a lot of them. So there's been a couple videos already where, when I first recorded it and did the basic edits, they looked longer than they ended up being. Like, when I actually did the final edit and talk through, there was a lot more I ended up editing out or changing that I could get away with. But back to that discussion of other remasters of classic games I want them to do. I wanted to do Digital Devil Saga as well, but if they're gonna do it, I wanted to do both together, like a duology package. Because their stories are interlinked too heavily, and so if you just made it DDS 1, it would only work against them because you'd literally only get half the story. You'd finish DDS 1 and you'd be like, well, why did the game just end? Where's the rest of the story? Where's the rest of the game? Because it was designed deliberately to be a 2-part saga. You play DDS 1 and then you play DDS 2. So they'd have to do a duology pack. But for DDS, it's less because I liked their games, but because I want them to have a second chance. because I feel like they were all right. They weren't 100. I went into them as much as I was Mainline and Strange Journey, but I still enjoyed them for what they were. I just want them to have like a better chance, so saying like a second go around sort of thing. And the rest of them, like Raido, I'd love to see get some love in the West full fucking stop, but I know that would be awkward because Raido, like in the PC version of the game, because of Raido being a Korean in German attire in a Japanese game, Raido's banned in a lot of countries. Essentially, he's just not accepted, which is why in the PC version of the game, they have 3 new game options instead of 2. Because they give you an option to just play it without Raido as well, so they could get around the fact that he's just not allowed in some countries. Also, if you can get a physical reflect going, he will do most of the work for you with Black Frost, so enjoy that. So if they were going to remaster Raido, they would have to do it knowing they're going to work at a loss, so I just think Raido's never going to happen. In the same vein, I don't think there's ever going to be a third Raido game, which is also a shame, because I'd love a third Raido game. Like, to just kind of modernize the formula and make, like, work out some of its kinks and problems to make it better. Because they were alright, they were just so flawed. Like, you enjoyed them for what they were, but they had so many problems elsewhere that I just wish that they took the opportunity to make a new game so they could modernize a lot of things and make it a lot more fluent and fun. But other than that, like, I was never into Devil Summoner. Like I said, I never really gave them much of a chance, so I don't. Yeah, I wasn't much into the 3DS games. I'm trying to think what they're called, so that's why I'm pausing for a while. Because Devil Summoner is Raido, I think. But there was another one that was on the 3DS that was a very similar name. It might have just been like Devil Saga or something like that. It wasn't Digital Devil Saga, like it was something else. I might be getting confused. I've got to look it up. 1 second, I'm gonna edit until I come back. Devil Survivor is the 3DS games. They're both D and then S, which is annoying. It's Devil Survivor and Devil Summoner. But yes, Devil Survivor on the 3DS I've never played. On the 3DS ones. It's Devil Summoner is the Raido games, which I played 1 and 2 of. But I just never really got into the rhythm of them because it felt like they were too, like, it felt like there needed to be a third game that cleaned things up more for me to really enjoy them. I know some people like them, but they just weren't my thing. Also, after killing Black Frost and it melts, you will now finally get that Magatama. You obtain the Magatama Satan, which it starts with Jive Talk, which is an odd skill. Yeah, Jive Talk just makes it so it's easier to get negotiations. Like when you're going with demons, like they won't be as arsey. Like they'll kind of like give you more of an chance. But it's not a skill worth having on Demi-Fiend. Like of all characters, Demi-Fiend is the one character it should not be on. But we've got another cutscene as we go back to Asakusa. You doing all right, dude? Oh, he's gone crazy, isn't he?
Can't believe what happened to Nikebukuro. Gozu Tenno's back in action now, huh? Hope that won't create any more problems. Bet you're wondering how I know about it already. Well, nothing escapes me now. I can learn anything with the power of Amala, just by using this terminal. For example, here's what's going on right now in the Vortex world. Hikawa's on his way to the Diet Building in search of Magatsuhi. Some girl has inherited the power of Gozu Tenno. There's an abandoned temple where a ton of Magatsuhi lies forgotten. Mannequins are gathered in Mifune Shiro, demanding their own reason. And... that's all you really need to know. See, I'm done playing investigator. No one knows more about the Vortex world than I do. That's why I should be the one recreating it. No one else has the right. Not Hikawa, not your teacher, not even you. I alone hold the knowledge to improve this world, along with everything in existence. It's him. You should be dead, damn it. I won't let you have the power of Amala. Shit, he's pulling me in.
again. Is there a reason you're here? It's not to see me, is it?
Oh, wait. It's probably because you're worried about your pal, huh? Why am I not surprised? Looks like you're still a nice guy after all. But you really shouldn't let others take advantage of you. I'm trying to do you a favor here. Well, I guess naivete is a virtue. At least in your case. Anyway, come meet me at Amala Temple. It's just down this passageway. I'll tell you all about Hijiri's secret plans, and how he was totally playing you.
At the start of that whole cutscene, all the places Hijiri was talking about are places we'll be going to later. They're all in the late game era of the dungeons. Because I can say that, like, now we're at that point, we're at this point of the game, everything now I would treat as late game. We are in kind of like the final act of the story. Because all the characters are have developed their reason, they just need to finalize it. Because your reason is only worthy enough to challenge the Kagutsushi if you have a god accept your reason and merge with it. And so all of our players are in place now. They just need to be accepted by their gods, and then the path to Kagutsushi will begin to open. But now it's time for our third boss, your third and final round against the Spectre. And I 110% completely forgot what you were supposed to do to win this fight because it's gimmick. And so this ends up taking a little while because I had to work it out again. Essentially, it's immune to all magic elements, so you can't magic it, you have to physically harm it. The problem is, if... Yeah, you're going to see it now. Oh no, you don't, you see it next time. If a turn passes and not every single Spectre is dead, they will all come back. So what you need to do is turn this into a damage check, not too dissimilar to Mara. It seems like to be the day of damage checks with the Fiend as well at the start of the video. So what you want to do is first lower their hit and evasion to the floor, and then boost your attack to the roof. Boost your physical attack, and then just start rinsing. If you can lower their defense as well, you have the skills to do it, do it. Make them as weak as possible and you as strong as possible, and then go on the offensive. You're going to see me not do that for the next 7 minutes. So feel free to kind of fast forward ahead if you feel the need. But yeah, I just completely forgot that was the mechanic and system of this fight. So it takes me a while to kind of get into the rhythm and then realize, oh no, this is that kind of fight. So I keep on doing that. But the thing is that if you hurt them, it skyrockets their chance that they'll use Last Resort, which will make a knock-on effect because they will Last Resort, get rid of themselves, and then the next one will revive them. Ideally, if you can get all of them super low and you're prepared to tank it, you can have all of them Last Resort in one go and they will just end it for you. But at this point, you see, that one Last Resorts, and the next one brings them back. Right, the next one. I get lucky there, and not two of them decide to summon back, but they will keep on top of it if you're not careful. So it is me once again, still not getting the idea. Actually, what I might do, because of how long I'm here and how long this video is, I'm going to cut until I get into the rhythm. So all I'm going to be doing when I get into the rhythm is boosting my attack and lowering their defense. And once they do, I start pushing for all the attack. Since this ends up going on repeatedly for several minutes. So I will cut until then. Okay, I think this is around a good time. And this also ends up adding to my point I said earlier of how video lengths sometimes don't end up the length I was going to be. Because earlier on in the video I mentioned that I was around 47 minutes. When I started talking about the longer videos, I just edited out 5 minutes to get to around about where this fight starts to wrap up for you. But essentially, I almost get it in one clean turn here. But one gets brought back. But because that one won't have the defense nerfs, I say, you know what? What I can do is kill the other three and then just tap the that last one. Because then that one will Last Resort instead of summoning. If you're wondering why I have the Dionysus again instead of my Pavati, it's because I accidentally had a skill completely reflect on it. Like, I just hit it with a magic skill to try out again, and everything reflected back, and it just killed itself. So I was like, okay, I just brought in Dionys again, which is 2 fights in a row that Dionys is supposed to just be a backup, has had to be used, but whatever. But you learned Tetrakarn, which is very much appreciated. And when you press forward, you'll be in the last unique area of the overworld in the game. From this point onwards, anytime we're in the overworld, we'll be elsewhere. We'll be somewhere we've already been before, but just in another spot of it. But this is the last entirely unique zone of the overworld. The actual bottom zone. Going straight down is an item, but you can see there's another item on the screen to the right-ish. We won't get that for straight away. That is on approach to the final normal dungeon of the game. And I must specify, not the actual final dungeon, the last of the final acts you do before we go into the actual true finale. So, because right now we're entering the Amala Temple. Ignoring Endgame, this is the 3rd from last proper dungeon. We got 2 more after this, and then the final dungeon will open its true doors, and what ending you're on will be decided, which is why I always look at it that way.
I swear you're too nosy for your own good. Whatever. At this point, I won't bother stopping you. If you have something to do here, then do it. The door's right there.
So we've got Amala Temple, 2 dungeons, and then the actual final, just to kind of clarify my point. But either way, next time on SMT3 Nocturne, we are going to work our way through the 3 pyramids of the Amala Temple. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.